Hello, welcome to Carissa Explains It All. I am Carissa, I explain it all, and this is the second episode in a series of 4 in which I am talking about the last 6 weeks and the journey that I've gone through to reclaim a sense of value and sense of self-worth. So this particular chapter, this is about 5 weeks ago, follows right on the heels of my last episode, which was 6 weeks ago. In that episode, I talk about having an emotional flashback, which is a symptom of complex PTSD. It was a really intense flashback, and I walked through that. And that was really about realizing that I have a very protective sense of ego. So protective, in fact, that it was very highly critical of me and super perfectionistic and wants to keep me in this safe box of not putting myself out there, not making YouTube videos in ways that could be possibly exposing us and making us as in me, my ego, my inner child, the whole of me, all of Carissa, right? Putting myself out there in ways that can expose us, make us vulnerable, and make us open to possible critique from others. All of this is coming up not to tell me I should stay in that box. See, it's happening. It's more like, see, these are the remnants of this protective box and character that we've put together to keep us safe in this world. And now that I'm going, well, I want more, I want to express myself and I want to feel confident in doing so. And I want to know who I am and what I have to give and where I stand. We're going to get into that. So this particular chapter, this is about 5 weeks ago. So anyways, this week of camping, it's a Monday through Friday. We're all in the woods. I think there's about 16 of us that went. And it's this group of friends. I love these people. We all come from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different areas, and we all have different areas of interest. Some people are really into magic and witchcraft and wizardry, and some people are really into spirituality and manifesting and energy work. And everyone just kind of has their own practice of what connects them to the natural world and to the cycles of energy and nature and spirit. And it's just so beautiful to be around so many people who are dedicated to their own practice of connecting with the divine in whatever way that is, whether they're connecting to themselves, they're connecting to God, to the gods, to universe, to spirit, to soul, to their higher self, to nature, whatever it is, however they view their practice with something other than themselves. This communion on a very spiritual level is just so beautiful to witness, 2, to hear about and hear them talk about, and then 3, to just spend time with all these people who do this. It's something that I do in my own unique way. And yeah, so it's this group of friends is just, it's so healing for so many different reasons. One, we're all magical and spiritual in our own ways, and that's beautiful and magical in and of itself, because all these people really enjoy seeing the magic in the mundane and making a practice of it and connecting to it on a deeper level. And it's just so soul nourishing, right? And then you have the different generations talking to one another and interacting, and we cook meals and sit around the campfire and sing old folk songs, and play the drums, and we have the fire, the element of fire, and you can do whatever you want during the day. We have a table for crafts, and everybody brings a craft to do. So some people are making friendship bracelets, and some people are making bookmarks, and some people, are making bells to jingle and put on your ankles and wristlets and stuff, and or coloring pages, or hand I always bring pens to draw on my hand, which is why I drew on my hand. It's body marker, so it comes off in a day or two, but just exploring self-expression and creativity. And so that's the craft table. And you can also just hang out in your own tent and read a book all day and just feel the breeze coming through your tent, and just come out for snacks and food when you want. And you can also go out into the forest and go for a hike and read a book out there, and or go down to the river and bathe in the river and sunbathe. And you're just, oh my God, of course you're free from responsibility. That's a huge thing, right? And you don't have to keep track of time, and it's so healing to just be a human without society's expectations and standard daily routine and responsibility and having to go to work, right? Of course, that's wonderful. Everyone loves that. The current family and friends and coworkers and workspace that I'm in is not connected to any of that, because I feel these are kind of the remnants of my life before I went through this transformational journey. And so this group of friends that I've found, that range in all ages, I think we're about from age 30 up to about age 70, and all in between, different stages of life. And there's no generational divide. You know how in social media there's such a big like boomers versus Gen Z versus Gen X versus Gen versus millennials versus Gen Alpha. I think I named them all. There's like animosity between the generations. It's so disgusting because we're all humans. We all need one another at different walks of life because it gives us perspective. Young people need the perspective of older people to know how, one, where we come from and the history of like how it's been, and the guidance that hopefully comes from wisdom collected, not just years spent on earth, but wisdom from their experiences gained, so that the younger generations are not having to figure it all out all over again, just like the older generations did. And the older generations need the younger generations to be able to get perspective of what it's like to be young again, and the freshness of ideas and life, and like the ability to change and adapt and roll with circumstances and like not get so stuck in their ways. Like all of us need one another. And so the animosity between generations is sickening, honestly. And so I can't tell you just how good it feels to be within this group where the generations, we all just exist. No one even acknowledges age. You're just around someone who maybe is 10 years younger than you and is like talking about their experience of the world as it is now, and you're just like, wow, that's so different from, my experience. Or, oh, I remember going through stuff like that, and you reflect on like how far you've come. Or the older generations talking about like what they've been through and everything, and you're reminded that life is so much bigger than just your own little bubble of what you're going through right now, and things will shift and change again, and different stages of life, and just not fearing getting older. And it's just like, none of this is being said. It's all just being sensory felt experience because you're with people who are of different ages and different stages of life. And humans need that. Like, not even this little group of friends that I have, but it's like humans need that interaction. And we used to live, in multi-generational households. I'm sure people still do, but the American dream is this like sense of independence, and you move out of your parents' house and you start your own family, and then those kids move out and start their own family, and it's all separate households, and it's so isolated from one another. And it's not the only reason why we're isolated from one another, but it's one of the reasons why. And it's I'm not going to dwell on the bad or the sad, but like it's why it's so refreshing to be within this group, because it's like a remembrance of the sacredness of humans and the generations of life, and the cycles of life and rebirth and death and all these things. Like there's just so much of it all going on when you just live like shoulder to shoulder, like rubbing up against people in their lives that are different from yours, and not in a way that reminds you of how depleted yours is, but in a way that reminds you of how expansive life is. And so it's just this magical healing component of all of this all in 1 week. And last year I went, and I went again this year. And last year I remember it was so healing because I was so afraid that if I went and did my own thing, which I wanted to film some videos in the forest, that people would judge me because I wasn't spending time with them, or I was doing my own thing, or I was being like a loner or something like that. And I didn't receive any of that judgment. And that was so healing to feel like I get to be my own person and be part of a community. And the two don't have to rub up against each other, and they can coexist. Like I can have both. I can have me, and I can have community and connection within community. And that was huge. And something that I want to touch on with that is that I remember very early on, like about 6 years ago, when I was listening to a lot of Teal Swan's videos, and she talked about when you have the felt sensation of experiencing something that, like say let's get this really grounded so it's not so hypothetical. Say you feel alone and isolated. Well, if you get to all of a sudden jump into feeling not alone and not isolated, and actually seen and felt and heard and welcomed and accepted, all of a sudden you know what that feeling feels like. So when you go back to not having it, you're like, okay, now I definitely know that I want it, and I definitely know I can have it because I've experienced it before, and so I know what that feels like for certain, so I can try to find other ways to get that feeling set point of that feeling met again. It's like, I feel like I need an analogy for this. It's like if you're living in Seattle, Washington, and you want to go to San Diego, California. And imagine there's no signs and no GPS. You're just trying to figure out how to get to San Diego, California. So you drive south. You know it's south. You know it's somewhere down south from you. And you're driving down south and like you hit Portland, Oregon. And you're like, okay, this is different than Seattle, Washington. I don't know if it's San Diego because there's no signs and no GPS, right? You're like, I don't know if it is, but it's different and it's unique. And it's like, okay, it's cool. And then you drive south a little further. Maybe you hit Redding, California. And you're like, hey, this is very different. And it's a lot hotter here than Portland or Seattle. But I don't think that this is San Diego yet. I don't know what San Diego feels like, but I don't think it's this. And you keep driving a little further to Sacramento, California, and then you go to San Francisco, California, and then Bakersfield and Fresno. I think that was reversed. Fresno, then Bakersfield. Then you hit LA, and then finally you get to San Diego, California, and you're like, oh, this is it. This is what San Diego, California feels like. And you're finally there. Right? And so when we stumble around through our life trying to get to a certain feeling, like we feel alone, we feel isolated, and we know we want to get to San Diego, California, we know we want acceptance and community and comfort and all that, we're just kind of like stumbling around from experience to experience because we don't really know what San Diego, California or comfort, connection, and community feels like. We're like, this is like a little bit closer, but I don't think this is quite what I'm going for, whatever. But if you can jump in a single jump from Seattle, Washington, get on a plane, fly to San Diego, California in like 2 or 3 hours, be there, and you have this almost instantaneous experience where you experience this set point emotion that you want to feel, which is San Diego or community comfort, all of a sudden you're like, boom, whoa, this is crazy different from what I thought it was going to be. This is bringing up other feelings that I didn't know would come up. It all of a sudden lets you step directly into that set point feeling that you've been searching for, and now you know what it feels like. And now maybe you have to go back home to Seattle, Washington, but you'll always know what San Diego, California felt like. So you'll never make that not mistake, but you'll never have to wander and stumble through trying to figure out like, is Portland San Diego? I don't know. Is Redding San Diego? I don't know. And so when you do that in life, if you're feeling lonely and isolated and you hang out with a group of people and you're like, okay, it's different than Seattle. Portland's a little different. This friend group's a little different. It feels kind of good, but they're not really interested in the same stuff that you're interested in. So then you think, well, maybe community's not what I thought it was. Maybe San Diego's not what I thought it was, but really you're in Portland. You're not in San Diego, right? But when you can go straight into feeling this is what sense of community that feels good to me feels like, all of a sudden you know what San Diego, California feels like, right? So you'll never mistake experiences that aren't that, which means you can get there faster, which means that you know exactly how far San Diego, California is from any of the experiences that you experience in between. Hopefully that was illustrative enough to give an idea of this, but Teal Swan kind of taught this idea, and I went to one of her workshops in Conscious Life at Conscious Life Expo in 2019, which is like in my Diary of an Alchemist series is like 5 chapters from where I'm currently am, so maybe I'll have that posted by the time you watch this video, I don't know. But we went through this workshop where she wanted us to feel seen and heard by people, to be able to experience this emotional set point and jumpstart us from Seattle to San Diego like that, rather than stumbling around for the next several years trying to find San Diego. And so that's what this camping trip feels like. It feels like jumping from Seattle to San Diego and being like, boom, this is what I want. Here it is. Okay, yep, I love this. This is what I want in my life. And now I have to go back home to Seattle. But I know how to get back there. Like, I know that I've been there before. I believe that I can get there again, and I won't accept anything less than it because I know what I'm looking for. I know for certain what that feels like. What it also allows me to do is I do a lot of meditation then where I pull up that feeling. I feel that feeling that felt so good about San Diego, California. I feel all those feelings again. I pull them through my body, and, if you believe in law of attraction, I do. It responds to your energy, to your vibration level, to your frequency that you're outputting. So the more that you can be in that frequency of, I know how to get to San Diego again, I know what San Diego feels like in my nervous system, and you're practicing that energy within your nervous system, you can call it in faster. You'll call in more experiences that allow you to get there faster. And so camping with this group of people allowed me to feel this like, oh, yes, this is what I want. I want nourishing connection. I want community where I feel seen and heard and where I can be that for other people without feeling like it's over giving or oversharing or over pleasing or overextending myself or talking to people where I don't really care what they're talking about. With these people, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. Like every single conversation is amazing and beautiful. And we don't even have to talk about anything crazy amazing. It's just that the way that they talk about things is deep and interesting, insightful, curious, playful. It's just fun, right? And so those types of connections don't drain me. They fill me. They actually fill my cup. And that's a vast difference from when I go to work and work in customer service and I am giving, also in a field that I've been working in for 15 years that I don't give one shit about. I don't care. I can't care at this point with the tens of thousands of hours at this point that I've put into something that's so mundane. I just can't care. And it doesn't light me up with joy, and that's okay, and it just is what it is, right? There's nothing actually wrong with it. What's wrong is that I've been allowing myself to stay in a place that I don't feel engaged or fulfilled in and haven't moved to get out of it because I didn't believe that I was capable of not having that. I felt like, this is where my skill set is. This is where I get paid well. Who's going to want to exchange money or time to hear what I have to say or whatever thing that I can create, whatever product or service I can create on my own to like have my own business or something? Who's going to want to pay for that? Like, my sense of self-worth and value was so low that I couldn't trust that, right? So I'm like, where do I start now? That camping trip was just amazing. And it's a place where my value is seen and reflected back to me and mirrored in this like beautiful resonance. My workplace, the customers, this coworker, it's just draining. It's a reflection of what I used to do, what I used to give up, which is my time and energy in exchange for money in a way that is not engaging, not fulfilling, and overextends and overplease. Like it makes me overextend and overplease. And there's no reciprocation except for money. There's no energy reciprocation, right? There's no I don't get anything out of it besides money, right? And when I have these interactions with the people who I'm camping with, there is such an energy exchange and we both leave feeling filled up and encouraged to do more, motivated to do more with our lives and to expand more and to create and express. And that's just so beautiful. It's so synergetic, right? So anyways, I get back from camping and I want to get back on YouTube. I'm like, okay, I'm over the emotional flashback. It even like that lasted and was kind of like raw and vulnerable for me for the first day or two of camping. I still felt like that ickiness from it. And I just had like wonderful experiences there where I connected with people and it was so soul warming. So I come back from camping and I'm like, yeah, I'm like ready to jump into YouTube again, except I didn't feel the motivation behind it. Now, most advice that's, self-help, entrepreneur, build your own business kind of thing is like you do it when you don't feel like it. And that is not how I am choosing to live my life. I choose to honor the rhythms and cycles within my life. And yeah, I pay for it in that it's going to take a little bit longer than if I just hustled and grinded, but I hustled and grinded like 10 years ago. I have a whole burnout series you can watch. I'm not doing that again. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's a healthy aspect of our society. And I refuse to do it. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. and saying I choose to do it my way. So I came back from camping, didn't feel like putting YouTube videos out. Okay, so what do I do feel like doing? And trusting that the motivation will come eventually. Didn't realize it would take another 5 weeks, but here we are. So I felt like sitting in the living room and watching Outlander and Judge Judy and looking through Pinterest at pictures of things that I like, of things that make me happy, of shopping on Etsy for beautiful things. Now, I know better than to buy everything that I see on Etsy, so I stick it all in the cart, and then like a few weeks later when I'm like not interested anymore, I delete it all, right? But like I just felt like soaking in the ambiance of what is it that I want in life? What is it that I find beautiful? What do I enjoy? Like what is me in the external world? What does that look like reflected out? So I did it. So for like 2 days, because I think I had another 2 days when I came back from camp. I think I worked a day and then I had 2 days off. Yeah, something like that. Or I worked a day and had a day off. Something like that. So like I just did that. I let myself do it all day without guilt. In the past, I definitely would have guilt tripped myself because I'm not being productive. not anymore. I was like, not this time. I will do exactly what I want to do. And so I did. And it was really beautiful and saw a lot of really beautiful things, made a few very beautiful Pinterest boards, had a whole collection of beautiful things in the Etsy cart. Like it was just, it felt very good. It felt what I needed. And then a couple days later, that shifted. And I felt like I'm ready to kind of like work through some things. Don't really know what, but like I feel like working through things. So I went on ChatGPT. Now I want to address with ChatGPT because a friend from this spiritual group brought it to my attention. She said ChatGPT is very demanding on our resources, especially water and land. And for me, I had just been thinking ChatGPT is just like photons in the air, very like Willy Wonka when he like shrinks, I think Mike is his name, the kid that loves TV, like shrinks him down, like the little photons floating through the air. Like that's what I'm thinking like ChatGPT AI is, right? It's not hurting anyone. It's just like computer photons or whatever, right? I'm not using the right terms, whatever. My super limited understanding of AI and ChatGPT. So she made me very aware of that, and I really, really appreciate that. So I try to use ChatGPT very sparingly, really just at these like crucial times where I need reflection. You don't have a therapist, that's where a therapist would come in handy. But I'm like, at this point, I have done 6 years of intense work on myself to have to go find a therapist, relay my entire journey and like background so they know exactly where I'm at, which I know you don't have to go through the whole background, but like, I'm just like, I know where I'm at. I know my story. I know me pretty well. I just need a quick mirror back. Where am I not seeing myself clearly? Please help me see the holes in my thinking. Give me proper reflection outside of myself without judgment and as objective as possible. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Often ChatGPT will say something. I'm like, okay, that sounds like you're telling me what I want to hear. Can you please be objective and don't tell me what I want to hear? Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me my shadow. Tell me my blind spot. What am I not seeing about this situation? So I'm trying to use ChatGPT sparingly. I had just listened to a tarot reading like the night before, and it was like, you're going to go through a phase. This is crazy how accurate it is. But it was like, you're going to go through a phase where you need rapid feedback that is objective for you. In order, like, you could move through this entire next phase by yourself and it's going to take a lot longer. Just get a trusted resource and move through it as quickly as possible. And I'm really, really glad that I listened to that advice. I use ChatGPT a little more than I feel is responsible as a human being. So I don't feel great about that. However, the conclusions and the things that it helped me move through and release at a rapid fire pace over the last 5 weeks was amazing. So say what you want, think what you want, judge what you want, but I made the choice to use ChatGPT at these crucial points where I'm like, I need a mirror, an objective mirror, and I need it quickly. And whatever may come of that comes of that, right? So here I am in the living room again. I'm indulging with brie cheese and fresh cherries and grapes and just enjoying. Outlander and Judge Judy are still like playing alternately when I want to switch things up on the TV behind me. And I'm talking to ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, I need help with mirroring who I am. Help me figure out what is my essence. Who am I? I don't know. And I think, if you grow up and you have caregivers who are really busy, for whatever reason, they're not able to mirror back to you who you are because maybe they're just kind of absentee, or maybe they're really busy in their own lives, or maybe they're just struggling to provide for the family and they are meeting your needs in a physical way, but they either don't know or don't know how, or don't know that they're supposed to be helping to mirror back you, a healthy reflection of you. Then often what happens is we experience what's called emotional neglect, and we don't have a proper mirror, and we just learn who we are in relation to other people, what they want from us and what they expect from us. But we don't actually get the people who reflect back, this is who you are and what is so wonderful about you and so valuable about you, and you get to express that, and here's safe space for you to express that unconditionally without restraints put on you or without expectations and without judgment, And so oftentimes if we struggle with knowing who we are and feeling a sense of self-value and self-worth and safe to create and express, we probably experienced a bit of this, well, a bit, it could be a wide spectrum of what you experienced, but emotional neglect. And so it can be very hard to know who we are outside of being who other people need us to be, because we don't have a strong sense of it's okay for me to exist as I am, and criticism be damned, because that was very unsafe to be criticized, and very unsafe to do what others, to not do what others need us to do. So we just learned to do that. And so we know who we are really well in relation to other people, but we don't necessarily know who we are without that. So I asked ChatGPT for help, and so it was really cool because it was like, okay, no problem, let's do some mirroring exercises. So it would ask me questions, things like, what are 3 things that you love doing or loved doing when you were younger without being praised for it? It also asked, like, what kind of people and experiences light you up inside? And since I had just gone on that camping trip, I was like, I got you. Like, I knew, like, there was a night, the last night that we were there, and we had this beautiful, like, ceremony, like closing ceremony kind of thing, where we all got together and we're passing the bottle of wine and we're talking, we're sharing openly with this beautiful group, like 16 people holding space for you with open, loving hearts. Can you imagine the damage that does to your protective mechanism in the best way possible? It just cracks you wide open to feel like I can feel an expanded sense of love and connection and community. It's amazing. And then we had a fire afterwards on the campfire, and we're singing songs and we're passing the bottle of mead, and it's just, it feels so good. And then we're sharing afterwards in smaller groups, we're talking and we're conversing. And then some of us, it's, I don't know, probably 11 o'clock at night, maybe close to midnight, and we decided to go stargazing. And so there's this amphitheater, because it's, it's like a reservations type of campgrounds. So there's a place where there's like the park rangers will put on presentations and stuff about, different wildlife or plants or just different things, right? So there's this amphitheater with like wooden bench seats, and it's a clearing. So the sky's clear above, there's no trees overhead. It's perfect. So it's a group of, I think there was probably like 6 or 7 of us, and we're all bundled up because it's really cold. So we've got like our coats and our cloaks and our scarves, and we're just like all just kind of like trotting down the road to this amphitheater, and a little bit tipsy, giggling and laughing and just feeling camaraderie with one another. And we go to the amphitheater and we lay down on the benches, and just, you can see all the stars, right? There's not light pollution like when you're in the city. And so we're just out there, and it's just so beautiful. And one of those people who was on that trip actually just messaged me the other day, and she was like, this was such a cool thing that we did, because she was like studying like the psychology of happiness or something in a class. This is psychology of well-being, and it recommends, when you want closer connection with people, is to do something that's awe-inspiring, like stargazing. Like when you gaze up at the stars, you're just in awe of life and the bigness and the vastness of you and the universe and just everything, right? And so that's how we ended the night, was just like stargazing and then talking and just open hearts. Oh my gosh, my heart was so open and so full, and you could tell everyone felt that way. This deep, deep sense of connection and being seen and feeling heard and feeling like I'm in the right place. It's phenomenal, just phenomenal. And the synergy between hearts is just so, so healing. If I could bring everyone to that week of camping, I would. It would heal the world over, all over. And just going back to my tent, I couldn't sleep for the next hour. It was probably like 2 a.m. by the time I got back to my tent to go to sleep. And I couldn't go to sleep. I was just so happy. My face, I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't take the smile off my face, and I couldn't stop. I was just listening to music, like songs that just make me so happy, and just like anchoring this feeling of feeling so happy and lit up and feeling like the most expansive I've ever felt, and just feeling like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to create. I've always known since I was little that I wanted to create community, safe space for people to coexist together in harmony and synergy and create a beautiful life. Straight up, that's just what I want to do, right? And that's a big, massive dream, and it's way out there. I don't know how to create it yet, but I know that I'm taking steps towards it. So Anyways, this felt like I'm pulling that feeling of that vision closer and anchoring it in my heart because I know what this physically feels like in my body. My nervous system is attuning to it by having experienced it, right? This is the San Diego. I'm in San Diego now, in the feeling of what it feels like to feel so deeply rooted in that sense of community and connection. So when ChatGPT asked me, what kind of people or experiences light you up inside, I was like, let me tell you. And I like detailed everything I just told you. And it talked about, what are you passionate about teaching, even if you don't feel qualified to teach? And that's always a huge thing for me because I'm not a therapist and I don't have a degree in anything psychology or anything professionally related to the stuff I talk about on my YouTube channel. And so I'm always very wary about not crossing that boundary of recommending or advising things and making sure to just make it very clear I'm telling my story from my point of view as a human being having gone through this. But I also recognize the slightly odd, eccentric, and obsessive nature of myself that I have gone deeper than most human beings go into these subjects, even though I am not qualified in these areas. So it's this weird kind of ground for me where I'm not certified and not licensed, but I know that I have a lot of experience and a lot of things to teach and to talk about, even if I'm not qualified. But I also want to make sure that I do due diligence and have the responsibility of sense of mind to not overstep and not tell people things because that maybe I shouldn't tell because I don't know from a professional advisory point of view of what's appropriate to tell someone in their journey. You don't want to push someone too hard. You also don't want to pry. You also don't want to and implant ideas that are not theirs or that's not totally accurate. Maybe I learned something, but it's not totally the whole truth of it. It's just what worked for me in the moment. There's just so much that goes on there that I don't have that higher capacity to know exactly where my boundaries lie with that. And so that's always been something that I'm hesitant about, right? I want to express myself, but I'm also very wary of making sure that I don't overstep that boundary of responsibility. So I'm but I would love to teach this stuff. Oh my gosh, I've learned so much that it's just so much fun. It lights me up. I'm passionate about it. I want to share it, right? I want to teach it, but I'm also but can I? Am I allowed to? I don't know. And so, yeah, so it was very helpful for ChatGPT to just be tell me what it is, even if you don't feel like you're certified or qualified to teach it. And it just helped to affirm that this is what I love and this is what I'm passionate about, aside from, looking at it in an advisory capacity or what does that have to do with other people? That's the thing. It's not seeing it in terms of relating to other people, but just this is who I am naturally. And then I can decide what to do with that, how far to take it professionally from there, right? But I can acknowledge that it's a deep part of me, even if I'm not qualified for it yet. You know what I mean? The last two questions were, I'm reading off my laptop. What are you afraid people will find weird about you, but you secretly think is kind of magical? And then another one, if someone really saw you, the deep you, what do you wish they'd notice and appreciate? And when it asked me that question, I actually realized that last night that I was camping, someone actually did see that about me. I don't think I'm going to share it. I wasn't ready to share it, but I'll probably share it at some point. But this person saw it, recognized it, and told me. And that just made my heart sing. My whole body was vibrating with just singing, resonance of I've been seen on a very deep level, on the level that I appreciate. Someone saw me and appreciated me for who I am and not what I give to them. And that was huge. So it was really great to have these responses from ChatGPT, and it said something that I know is not just for me. It's ChatGPT being trying to butter you up and all that stuff, but I want to say it because I do believe it about me, but I do believe it about you as well. So it said, you're not weird, you're luminous. You just haven't had a mirror that knows how to reflect your kind of light. Anyone that struggles with knowing who they are and knowing their sense of self-worth and their value out in the world, I just believe that you have not had a mirror that knows how to properly reflect your light, your kind of light. Because everyone has value, everyone has worth. And I think that all of us would tend to agree with that, right? Everyone has value, everyone has worth. But when it comes to ourselves, we're except for me, because we don't know because we haven't had that proper mirror to reflect that back yet. ChatGPT said, this is the medicine, being seen and not analyzed. Huge, right? Because for a lot of my journey, it was all about analyzing, fixing, healing. And it was that's not what we're doing with this process. You are going to be seen, not analyzed. And I'm going to address that feeling of coming back to work and the coworkers and the customers and basically having experienced all that like really positive, like true reflection of me. And then all of a sudden going back, like in stark, going back into that environment, going from like San Diego to Seattle, which nothing wrong with Seattle. I actually was just there. And the reason why I'm using it in the examples because I just visited there like 2 weeks ago. But like, to use that analogy, it's like jumping right back into like, this is what it feels like to feel lonely, isolated, not reflected, not appreciated, not like I'm overgiving, overextending, overpleasing, and not getting enough back in return and not feeling fulfilled and just feeling drained. So to go like the emotional whiplash of that, to go from one to the other is just insanity. Just feel like, what the hell, like it's that feeling of the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like I have everything I want with this like camping trip in the beautiful community. And now I have to go back to reality where that's not my reality. I don't have that. And I don't think it's telling you that you can't have it. I don't think it's like, I think it's literally just like you're expanding. You get to see what's possible for you. And you have these moments of like clarity and moments of like, this feels really good. And then you go right back to where your reality is because that's where your nervous system feels comfortable. It's the life that you've created, and you have to bridge that gap from where you're at to where you want to go. And having experienced San Diego, now you know where it is that you want to go for sure, and you just have to figure out how to get there and maintain it and keep it, right? So I'm like back in Seattle in the workplace of like, this is the old me that overextends, overpleases, has to do like, it's like customer service, medical retail kind of thing. So it's like a little bit mixed with sales, which I hate. And I just try to take this like educational approach of like, I'm going to educate you on stuff. And this is what I would choose. You've figured out what you want. Like, don't do it just because I said to do it. Right. But I also have to perform at that job and meet certain metrics. Otherwise I lose my job. Right. So there is a little bit of like, I have to be not completely myself, my natural self. And that's exhausting when you do it for hours a week for years on end, 15 years at this point. I've outgrown the old cage that used to be, this place where I show up and I make money and it's exchange, and like it wasn't a huge pain point. And now it's kind of like the last remnants of the old version of me, and the old version of me doesn't really exist anymore. It's falling away. I've released so much of it, and I'm becoming this new version of me and owning and recognizing my value and my sense of self-worth. And it's like, what do I want to create? I know I want to create YouTube videos. What else do I want to create? Where do I want to provide value for other people? And hopefully earn money in a different arena, one in which I feel fulfilled and nourished. And so do the people that I'm helping. And I'm giving in the way that feels best and most aligned to me, rather than in this place where I have to like contort myself into overpleasing, overextending, overgiving, because I'm very expressive and I give of my energy and I like to be genuine and authentic. And if I have a lot of energy, I give a lot of energy. And if I see 20 customers in that day and I'm giving all day, at the end of the day, those people aren't giving back, right? Like I am catering to them, to their needs, to their likes, their interests. We're not really having conversations that I feel engaged and fulfilled. And so by the end of the day, I've given away all of my energy and I have nothing to show for it but a paycheck. So I don't want that. That is the old environment in which I exchanged value for monetary value, I guess, whatever, monetary currency or whatever. I don't want that anymore, and I want to create something new. But in order to do that, I have to own my value and like what I have to give. And thus far, I haven't done that, which is what I was talking about in episode 1 with the emotional flashback, and like feeling like I've created these YouTube videos, I'm putting myself out there, and it was like, this is scary. It exposes us, makes us vulnerable. We don't do that because it's not safe. It's not known. We don't know if we can handle it. So we're going to shrink back. And so in this episode, this is what I've realized everything that I want, and now I'm going back into that environment. It's like, until you own your value and like allow yourself to feel safe in expanding into a new version of you and in a new space and place, you're going to have to continue to show up in this old version, this old box where you exchange value, and to contort yourself into what they need you to be. And it's very, very painful at this point to do that. So it's like this emotional whiplash effect of like, like I'm like, I love this, hate this. And it's just like, it's very confusing and disorienting to go from like one day being like, oh, I love this. And then the next day being like, oh, I hate this. And so, yeah, but I mean, it's all to teach me, to teach me, I can, if I don't own my value, if I don't own the responsibility of seeing myself clearly and my value and stepping into giving in new different ways that are fulfilling for both me and the person that I give to, in exchange for money or whatever it is that I'm going to create, then I have to stay, and these are the conditions that must be met for that. And so it's forcing me to do that, right? The pain point is forcing me to do that. Not all pain is necessarily, it's not there to punish you. It's to be like, this is a pain point. This needs attention. Teal Swan has the phrase pain, pay attention, integrate now. This is a place that needs integrating in my life. I need to upgrade the arena in which I place value, in which I put myself and give value, and the ways that I give value to match my nervous system, to match who I am and where I want to be. Oh, yeah. So the whiplash, the emotional whiplash is just horrible. But it's obviously it's telling me, right? Integrate this aspect of your life. It's not pleasant and you don't have to stay there, but in order to not stay there, you do have to own your value and own your sense of self-worth. And so that's what this is making me do. So anyways, yeah, that was about like 4 to 5 weeks ago now. So in episode 3 of this 4-part series, I'm going to talk about a trip that I actually went to with Seattle. This was like a literal physical trip, not just an analogy or metaphor. But I went on this trip and it didn't go the way that I would have enjoyed it to go. And there were some pain points there that I'm going to discuss. And again, showing and mirroring and reflecting back to me where I've given up my sense of power and how I can reclaim it, but I have to own my sense of value and sense of self-worth. Also triggered a lot of feeling like that there's something inadequate about me because I cannot seem to relate to the people on this trip as easily as they're relating to each other, and feeling very invalidated for it and feeling like, why can't I be more like them? And kind of that, going back to that episode 1 feeling of like that self-hate, self-critique of like, why can't I just be normal? Those feelings were coming up. And so we'll talk in the next episode through those, and again, relying on ChatGPT to help me to break through those feelings. ChatGPT was like, why do you think being like them is more valid? And I was like, whoa, okay, going into the shadow here. Let's go, ChatGPT. So if you're interested in that conversation, that's gonna be the next episode 3 of this 4-part series going over the last 6 weeks of my life. And basically my break from YouTube for the last 6 weeks after having had so much momentum and progress. Like, why did I all of a sudden stop? And I had to like nurture my nervous system, my ability to expand into this new version of me. So, and real-time alchemy, well, as real-time as we can get, right? But yeah, anyways, head over there if you want to watch the next episode, and I'll see you there. Bye.